He said she was his sister. I gave birth alone, then learned the truth and lit everything on fire. You ever get hit so hard by a truth that your body just freezes? Like your soul takes one look at reality and pieces out? Yeah, that was me. Sitting in a hospital bed, fresh stitches for in my arm, a brand new baby sleeping beside me, and no husband in sight. Brandon missed the birth of his daughter. And not because he got stuck in traffic or because his phone died. No. He ignored my text because he was hanging out with his sister. Let that sink in. Brandon and I had been together for 3 years when everything came apart. 3 years of what I thought was love. Passionate, ride-or-die love. You know the kind, head kiss my forehead every morning, send me corny little good morning messages, and cook me waffles on Sundays like some rom-com husband in a Hallmark movie. And then there was Jessica, his sister. From day one, their relationship was weird. They were too close. Like tickle fights on the couch close. Like cancel our date night because Jesse needs him kind of close. And yeah, they slept in the same bed when he stayed over at her place. And he did that a lot. But I ignored it. I mean, he said she was his sister, right? His parents had apparently died in a tragic car accident back when he was in college. Jessica was his rock. His only remaining family. That's what he told me. I bought it. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next, because I was in love. And because I'm not the kind of girl who gets jealous over family, who wants to be that girl. But man, I should have been. There were red flags, sure. Like the time she walked in wearing my necklace. The one Brandon gave me for our anniversary. I laughed and said, "Hey, funny, I have the same one." She smirked. "Yeah, I thought you wouldn't mind. It looks way better on me anyway." She walked off like that was just a normal thing to say. I asked Brandon about it later, and he brushed it off. "She's just being playful. You know how she is." Uh-huh. Or that other time, Jessica told Brandon I was flirting with guys at the coffee shop because I, wait for it, told a guy his shoelace was untied. Yeah, real scandalous stuff. I felt like a third wheel in my own relationship. But I kept swallowing it. Over and over. Because I thought, family comes first. He's hurting. He's got no one else. And I wanted our baby girl, our daughter, to grow up knowing her. And I thought I was building something. Something whole. Real. Then came the night my water broke. I was alone. In our apartment. My mom was supposed to fly in the next day. And Brandon? He wasn't home. I texted him. "Me, water broke. Heading to the hospital. Call me." His reply? "Brandon, with Jesse RN. Can't talk. Just text." That was it. I told him, "I'm going into labor." No reply. Not even a good luck, or "I'm on my way." I tried calling an ambulance. They put me on hold. So there I was. Driving myself to the hospital in the middle of the night, contractions hitting like a baseball bat to the gut, whispering to my unborn daughter that she was going to be okay because mama's got her. My mom met me there. Thank God. She held my hand through the entire thing. There were complications, like real, terrifying ones, and Brandon didn't show up until the next morning. He walked in, smelling like cologne and excuses. "Good morning, my love," he said, like nothing had happened. "I'm so sorry I never saw your text. I didn't even yell. I didn't cry. I just shut down." And for about a week, it seemed like it was. He was perfect. Every time I shifted in bed, he was already there with the heating pad. He rubbed my feet, sang lullabies to our daughter while I passed out from pain meds. I thought, maybe this could still work. But deep down, something didn't sit right. It took maybe 2 weeks for things to go back to how they were. Brandon was gone all the time again. Always with Jessica. He'd say they were decompressing together. That she was going through a lot. That she needed him. I wanted to scream. I just gave birth. I needed him. But somehow, Jessica always outranked me. So one day, when the loneliness was chewing holes in my chest, I decided to get out of the house. Took the baby to visit our neighbor, Mrs. Holbrook. I'm talking to her, venting about Brandon and his sister, and she goes quiet. Like, dead silent. Then she says, real slow, "Sweetheart, Jessica's not his sister." I blinked. What? She's not his sister. Her mom is my friend. Jessica doesn't have any siblings. I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me, and everything clicked. Every weird touch. Every inside joke. The necklace. The sibling sleepovers. The way she glared at me like I was stealing something from her. Because I was. I was stealing her boyfriend. My mom packed up his stuff while I sat in a daze holding my baby, wondering what kind of psycho lies about his entire family being dead. That night, Brandon came home to his clothes and garbage bags on the porch. He looked confused. Like genuinely surprised. I told him what I knew. He didn't deny it. He just gave me this half shrug and said, "Babe, she's just a friend." The sister thing was just easier. So I slapped him. Hard. Across the face. And I told him, "You will never be allowed near me or our baby again. Get the hell out of my life." And that man, he smirked. Smirked. "You say that like it's a bad thing," he muttered before walking away. This was just the beginning. You'd think after catching your husband in one of the most deranged lies possible, pretending his girlfriend was his sister, that the worst part would be over, right? Nope. Turns out that was just level 1 of hell. Because over the next few days, I found out Brandon hadn't just lied about Jessica. He'd lied about literally everything, starting with his so-called tragic backstory. Something wasn't adding up. So I did what anyone with a pulse and a Wi-Fi connection would do. I started digging. First stop, our wedding photos. I remembered this one guy, tall with a crooked smile, who Brandon introduced as Cousin Nate from Jersey. So I reverse image searched his face and found his public Facebook. Only, his name wasn't Nate. It was Kyle. And under the About section, listed as Brandon's older brother. Brother. As in, one of the siblings who was supposed to be dead. I messaged him. Real casual. "Hey Kyle, just wondering, how do you know Brandon?" A few hours later he replied, "He's my brother." Why? I sat there staring at my screen like it was about to explode. I texted him back. He told me his family died in a car crash. Kyle's response? "Are you serious? What the hell?" Turns out Brandon had 5 siblings. All very much alive. 2 brothers. 3 sisters. A mom who runs a candle shop in Jersey. An aunt who teaches yoga. A cousin who does CrossFit competitively. The whole damn clan. I felt physically sick. I didn't even know how to process it. Who lies about their entire family being dead? Like what kind of psychopath makes up a fake tragedy just to, what? Avoid introducing me to his mom? I called my best friend, Tina, and unloaded everything. She was at my door in 15 minutes with a bottle of wine and her MacBook like we were prepping for a heist. "All right," she said, flopping onto the couch. "Let's go full Nancy Drew on this asshole." And we did. Within an hour, we'd found Brandon's mom, Debbie, on Facebook. Her bio said, "Candle lover, garden witch, proud mama of 6. 6. Not 0. Not former. 6. And guess what? She posted constantly. Garden pics. Her cats. Her book club. And lots of family shots. Backyard barbecues, graduation ceremonies, birthdays. Brandon wasn't in any of them. I was like, okay, maybe he cut them off. Maybe it's just a complicated situation. But Tina wasn't having it. This guy erased himself from his actual family and created a fake one built around his side chick. We kept digging. Found yearbook photos from his high school. And there he was. Brandon. Looking smug as ever. And right next to him in a cheerleading photo? Jessica. They'd known each other since high school. He told me they met in college. That she was older, adopted, barely remembered her parents. All lies. Tina raised an eyebrow. I bet they've been together this whole time. I didn't want to believe it. So I went a step further. I made a fake Instagram account and followed Jessica. Her profile was public. I scrolled back years. And I saw it. Photo after photo of her and Brandon. On dates. Vacations. Matching Halloween costumes. One post said, 3 years with this handsome guy. I love you, B. Posted just a month before I met him. Then right around the time Brandon and I started dating. The caption suddenly changed. Sibling brunch. Love my bro. Like someone flipped a switch. They were together. They were always together. They just decided that lying about it was easier than breaking up. I showed the posts to my mom. She sat in silence for a full minute. Then she stood up, walked to her phone, and made a call. Hi, Linda. Yes. I need to book a consultation for my daughter. She needs a damn good family lawyer. Linda was a no-nonsense woman with a gray streak in her bun and a voice like a courtroom warhammer. She didn't blink when I told her the story. Unfortunately, she said, being a manipulative liar isn't illegal, but it can help us get full custody if we document everything right. The crazy part? Brandon didn't even try to reach out. He hadn't texted, hadn't called, didn't ask about the baby. It was like we never existed. Linda said that was actually good for our case. If he didn't even pretend to be a dad, it would strengthen my claim for full custody. But still, there was this ache, this quiet heartbreak that kept creeping in when I looked at my daughter's little face. She deserved better than this. Hell, I deserved better than this. And then, just when I started thinking maybe I could get my life back on track, there was a knock on the door. It was Jessica, looking nervous, makeup-free, sweater sleeves pulled over her hands like she was some innocent little waif. I didn't open it. I know you're in there, she called out. We need to talk. It's not what you think. Girl, I saw the photos. Go away or I'm calling the police. You're overreacting, she snapped. Brandon and I aren't even together anymore. We broke up when he met you. Uh-huh. The sister thing was just easier, she added. His family is super messed up. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I hit record on my phone, not saying a word. He's devastated, you know. He loves that baby. Lies. All of it. But still, that smirk she used to wear was gone. She looked wrecked. Not guilty, just inconvenienced. When she left, I called Linda. Time to file for a restraining order, she said. And we did. Because something told me they weren't done with me yet. Ever had one of those moments where the universe decides to just break the fourth wall on your life? Like, surprise. Everything you thought was real was a lie, and erase the woman who proves it. That was me, sitting in a dusty little coffee shop, across from Debbie, Brandon's mother. The woman who was supposed to be 6 feet under for the last 3 years. It started with a random call. Blocked number. No voicemail. Then a text. Hi. I think we need to talk. My name is Debbie. I'm Brandon's mother. I nearly dropped the phone. I thought maybe it was a sick joke. Maybe Jessica pretending to be someone else. But then she followed up with, I know you're separated from my son. I think you deserve to know the truth. She suggested meeting at a neutral spot, a coffee shop in the next town over. I wasn't going alone, obviously. I asked Tina to come with me. My mom watched the baby. My lawyer, Linda, said as long as I didn't sign anything or reveal my location, it was fine to meet. Still, I was sweating the whole drive there. My stomach was in knots. What was she going to say? Was this some setup? A guilt trip? A confrontation? I wasn't ready for what actually happened. Debbie was normal. Older woman, late 60s maybe. Gray-streaked ponytail. Jeans. No makeup. Garden dirt still under her nails. She looked like someone who made really good lasagna and yelled at people for not composting. She smiled nervously when I sat down, then sighed and said, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he told you we were dead. That's beyond anything I ever imagined. I stared at her. So you're not dead? She actually laughed, kind of bitterly. Nope. Alive and deeply disappointed. Then she told me everything. Apparently, Brandon cut off his family 3 years ago. Not because they died. Not because they disowned him. But because they questioned his relationship with Jessica. She said it started way back in high school. Brandon and Jessica had one of those toxic, obsessive relationships that burned through everything around them. Fights. Breakups. Make-up sex in parking lots. That whole mess. Then Brandon went off to college. Started dating a girl named Alyssa. Totally normal relationship. Smart girl. Pre-med. But Jessica couldn't stand it. She followed him. Transferred to the same college. Started showing up at his dorm unannounced, inserting herself into his life again. Within months, Alyssa was out. Jessica was back. Debbie told me it wasn't just love. It was possessive. She didn't want him to have a life outside of her. Friends, family, nothing. When Debbie and the rest of the family tried to intervene, Brandon exploded. Called them controlling. Toxic. Said they didn't understand his life. He ghosted them all. Stopped coming to holidays. Changed his number. Blocked them on everything. The last they heard from him was a group text that said, I'm getting married. Don't contact me. That was when he married me. I was stunned. He told me you all died. In a car crash. Said Jessica was the only family he had left. Debbie's eyes welled up. I can't even begin to tell you how much that hurts. She pulled a folder out of her bag. Inside were police reports. Screenshots. Letters. Photos. These are from Alyssa, his ex. She had to get a restraining order against him and Jessica. They harassed her so bad she moved to Florida. Emails. Voicemails. Showing up at her job. Threats. Lies. It was like looking at a blueprint of everything they'd started doing to me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I'm sorry, Debbie said quietly. I just want to help. I'd like to meet my granddaughter someday, but only if you're comfortable. I couldn't say anything. I was still processing the fact that the man I married was not just a liar, he was a repeater. This wasn't some freak slip-up. This was his pattern. When I got home, my mom was already on edge. Someone just called the Airbnb host pretending to be you. Told them we had a family emergency and needed to check out early. They'd found us. I grabbed my bag, my baby, my laptop, and we were gone in 30 minutes. Checked into a hotel under my mom's name. Left no forwarding address. I called Linda the next morning and told her everything. She was fired up. This is gold, she said. Now we have a documented history of harassment and deception. The court will eat this up. She filed for an emergency custody hearing that same day. But even with the legal wins, I couldn't relax. Not really. That night, I was feeding the baby when a rock smashed through the living room window. Glass flew. I ducked. The baby screamed. I grabbed her, locked us in the bathroom, called 911. By the time police showed up, whoever did it was long gone. No fingerprints. No footage. Just a gloved hand barely caught on camera. Could be random vandalism. The officer shrugged. Yeah, sure. Random. I couldn't do this anymore. My baby was in danger. I was unraveling. So I made a call. Mom, you remember that offer you made about moving back home with you? She didn't hesitate. Come tonight. I'll make up the guest room. That night, I packed our lives into 2 duffel bags and got in the car. We drove 3 hours to a small town called Ashfield. Quiet, safe, peaceful. I was done pretending this wasn't war. In the coming days, things got worse. Of course they did. Calls from blocked numbers. Emails from fake accounts. Someone created a social media page calling me an unfit mother. They tagged my boss, my coworkers, even people from my high school. And when I changed my number, they found the new one. Linda called it digital stalking. I called it hell. We filed more restraining orders. And then one day, I got a plain white envelope slipped under my door. No return address. Just one line written inside. You think you're safe out there? The next day, I did 3 things. I emailed Linda and scanned the note into our growing mountain of evidence. I called the local police in Ashfield and requested a neighborhood patrol. I installed brand new security cameras, top of the line, on every side of the house. My mom stayed up with me that night. We drank coffee like it was war fuel and kept watch. Nothing happened. But the quiet wasn't comforting. It was like waiting for a bomb to go off. A few days later, I got a text from an unknown number. Again, but this one didn't threaten me. We need to talk. I know things now. You should too. Debbie, Brandon's mother. Part of me wanted to ignore it. I'd had enough surprises. But something told me to listen. The last time she showed up, she gave me police reports that crushed Brandon's lies in court. So I agreed to meet. Public place. Daytime. Tina came with me again, non-negotiable. We sat in a small corner booth at a breakfast diner outside town. Debbie looked exhausted. Her face thinner. Her voice quiet. She didn't waste time. They broke up. I blinked. What? Brandon and Jessica. It finally blew up. Apparently, Jessica had started seeing someone else. Brandon found out, lost his mind, showed up at her place drunk. There was a scene. He broke windows. Shoved her new boyfriend. Cops were called. Brandon was arrested for disorderly conduct and property damage. I sat back in the booth, stunned. It was like watching a snake bite its own tail. Debbie sipped her tea. Jessica is telling everyone Brandon abused her. He's telling everyone she was emotionally unstable. They're dragging each other's names through the mud. But then she leaned forward. And her next words nearly knocked the wind out of me. She's threatening to ruin your life too. Apparently, Jessica blamed me for everything unraveling. She'd been telling people that I stole Brandon, that I manipulated him into leaving her. She was spiraling. And even more terrifying, she's been asking around, trying to find out where you live now. I overheard her saying she wanted to make sure you'd never forget her. I felt my blood turn cold. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Debbie looked me in the eye. Because you're the mother of my grandchild. Because I don't support what he's done. And because you need to end this. Then she slid a flash drive across the table. This has everything. Videos, voicemails, photos, screenshots. From Alyssa, from other women. Even one of Brandon's ex-roommates who recorded a phone call with him bragging about how easy it is to gaslight women if you just stick to the lie. I stared at it. Why do you have all this? Debbie's hands trembled slightly. Because I've been waiting for years. Hoping someone would survive long enough to bring him down. I left that diner with a file that was basically a nuke. And the moment I got home, I emailed every single piece of it to Linda. She called me back 15 minutes later, and I swear she sounded giddy. We're going to bury him with this. The custody hearing was less than a week away. Brandon had filed a request for shared custody and unsupervised visitation, claiming I was paranoid and emotionally unstable. Jessica had submitted a character statement about me. The irony? Thick enough to spread on toast. But now we had their own voices. Their lies. Their manipulation. Their threats. The day of the hearing, I wore all black. Not because I was grieving, but because I was ready to bury a fantasy. Brandon showed up with that same smug face. The same cocky little wave. Jessica was sitting behind him, arms crossed like she was on a reality show and waiting to drop a dramatic one-liner. Linda nudged me. Ready? More than I've ever been, I whispered. The judge, an older man with this weary but sharp look, opened the proceedings. Brandon's lawyer gave the usual song and dance. How I was overwhelmed from motherhood, how I was confused, how Brandon was just a loving father trying to reconnect. Then it was Linda's turn. She stood up with the calm confidence of someone who came to end people. Your Honor, we would like to submit additional evidence, including recorded conversations where the father admits to constructing a false identity, impersonating his romantic partner as a sibling, and manipulating multiple women. She paused and smiled. And that's just Exhibit A. What followed was an obliteration. Voicemails of Brandon mocking me. Text to Jessica calling me a stage 5 clinger. Screenshots from Jessica bragging to her friend about tricking the dumb wife by using bro code language. And the piece de resistance? The recording of Brandon saying, "It's not lying if you never admit it. Most women just believe what they want to believe. You just have to say it with confidence." Even the court reporter raised an eyebrow. Jessica stood up, hissing, "This is bulls ******, and got escorted out. Brandon? Pale. Sweating. Silent. The judge looked at him like something scraped off the bottom of his shoe. And when he delivered his verdict, full custody to the mother. Monthly supervised visitation at a neutral location. Restraining orders extended for 1 year. Psychological evaluation required before any modification of terms. Linda squeezed my hand. I held back tears. My mom, sitting in the back, exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. We walked out of that courtroom victorious, but still cautious. Because the judge's final words haunted me just a little. "Mr. Carter, you are one of the most manipulative individuals I've seen in this court in years. If you contact the plaintiff outside legal channels, you will be arrested." Brandon just nodded. But as we left, I caught him staring at me. And he mouthed it. "This isn't over." You'd think after court, after everything, they'd stop. Normal people get the message once a judge looks them in the eye and says, "You're a manipulative danger." But Jessica? No. That girl took unhinged and made it a personality. Because the day after the custody ruling, I got a call from Child Protective Services. Yeah, that's right. She reported me. I was folding laundry, my daughter asleep in her crib, when my phone rang. A woman's voice. Calm, polite, clinical. "Hi, is this Riley Carter?" "Yeah, new last name. Keeping that. He can rot with his." We received a report alleging neglect and unsafe living conditions. We're required to follow up. Would you be available for a visit today? I felt my stomach drop to my toes. My mom saw my face and went pale. "Jessica," I said flatly. "Has to be." She nodded. "Time to start a new folder." The CPS agent showed up that afternoon. Her name was Melissa. She walked in expecting a nightmare. Dirty diapers on the floor, feral dogs in the kitchen, baby crying in a drawer. Instead, she found a sparkling clean house, an organized nursery, homemade soup on the stove, and my daughter peacefully napping with a stuffed giraffe under one chubby arm. Melissa actually looked annoyed. "These calls waste everyone's time," she muttered as she inspected the cupboards. "We get these a lot during messy custody situations." She looked at me. "Do you know who might have made the report?" I gave her the file we built. Everything. The restraining order. The social media harassment. The rocks. The emails. The Instagram smear campaign. Her jaw clenched. "You should think about getting a second order for her specifically." Already in progress. That night, Tina and I sat at my kitchen table drinking wine and plotting. "She's losing," Tina said, twirling a pin between her fingers. "And sore losers lash out." She was right. Jessica and Brandon weren't partners anymore. They were just two walking trauma factories, pointing fingers, leaking chaos. And now Jessica had a new hobby: destroy Riley. She didn't just report me to CPS. She emailed my boss. Accused me of stealing. Claimed I'd faked receipts and was pocketing client refunds. Sent anonymous tips to our HR department using burner Gmail accounts. Luckily, I had receipts for everything. My boss, bless his sarcastic heart, called me in and slid the email across his desk. "You pissed off someone real bad," he said. "But I trust you. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case this gets dumber." It got dumber. That weekend, my neighbor knocked on my door. Said a woman had been asking around about me. Claimed to be an old college friend. Blonde. Tall. Red jacket. Rings on every finger. Yeah, Jessica. She was trying to find out where I went. What time I left for work. Where my daughter went to daycare. I lost it. I called Linda. Told her everything. She didn't even hesitate. We're filing a direct restraining order against Jessica. Today. I'll handle the paperwork. You just stay safe. So now we had 2 restraining orders. One for Brandon. One for Jessica. But I knew that wouldn't be enough. Because Jessica was unraveling. And when people like her unravel, they get dangerous. Then one night, after I'd put my daughter to bed and was just about to crash myself, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I picked it up without thinking. Silence. Then a low whisper. You think you won, but I'm not done yet. I froze. So I did the only thing I had left in me to do. I wrote a blog post. Titled it, I married a man who pretended his girlfriend was his sister. This is what happened after. I changed names, but I told the story. Every lie, every threat, every rock through my window, every CPS call, every fake email. I posted screenshots, blurred identities, but enough to show I wasn't making it up. And that blog? It blew up. Within 3 days, it had thousands of shares. Women DMing me saying they'd been through similar hell. One even recognized Jessica's face and said, she dated my cousin years ago. Ruined his life. Same tactics. I forwarded it to Linda. She said it might come in handy later. Character patterns. Public support. But more importantly, now the story was out there. Jessica couldn't twist it. Brandon couldn't rewrite it. I had the narrative now. A week later, Debbie texted me again. I think you should see this. It was a screenshot. Jessica had posted on her private Instagram, clearly thinking I couldn't see it. It said, some people will lie and cry their way into sympathy. But karma's coming. Always does. With a photo of a black rose. Yeah, subtle. I filed it, logged it, sent it to Linda. Tina looked at it and said, you should send her a bouquet of black roses. With a note that says, thanks for playing. I didn't. But damn if I didn't want to. It finally came to a head 2 weeks later. Jessica tried to follow me home from the grocery store. I saw her in the rearview mirror, pretending not to notice me. But I knew her car, knew that slouch she did behind the wheel. I pulled into a gas station, grabbed my phone, and snapped a photo. Her face, her license plate, the timestamp. Then I called the cops. When they arrived, she was gone, but the image was enough. They filed it as a direct violation of the restraining order. That was it. Warrant issued. She was picked up at her apartment 2 days later. It wasn't major jail time, just 48 hours, but it sent a message. You don't mess with a mother protecting her child. And finally, things went quiet. 5 years. That's how long it's been since the last court date. Since the drama, the threats, the restraining orders, the rocks through windows, and Jessica's final stunt before she got cuffed and carried out of her apartment. I moved to a new town. Small, safe, friendly. My daughter grew up surrounded by love, not chaos. My mom lives down the road. Tina visits often. And I got remarried, yeah. His name's Will. Elementary school teacher. Patient, kind, makes pancakes from scratch. My daughter calls him Dad. Brandon was granted monthly supervised visitation after the court ruling, but he only showed up for half of them before disappearing altogether. No birthday cards. No texts. No Christmas presents. Just silence. Until last week. It was a regular Saturday. My daughter, now almost 6, was spinning in circles near the juice stand, singing off-key to some cartoon theme song. Will was buying strawberries. And I was sipping my overpriced latte, feeling content. Then I saw him, Brandon, standing across the street. Hoodie up. Sunglasses. But I knew. You don't forget the face of the man who made your world implode. We locked eyes for half a second. Then he turned and walked away. But I stood there frozen. Because for 5 years, I built this new life brick by brick. And just like that, the past reminded me it still had my address. That night, I emailed Linda, yes, we still keep in touch. She said unless he made direct contact, there's no legal action to take. But she documented the sighting, just in case. I don't know what he wanted. Closure? Regret? A last look? Maybe he just wanted to remind me he could still appear whenever he wanted. But here's the thing. I'm not that woman he left in a hospital bed anymore. I'm not the girl who drove herself to labor alone while he cuddled his sister. I'm not scared. I'm ready. If this story touched you, share it with someone who remembers those days too.